Hello everyone. Alright, I'm going to tell you right now, this is about the fourth time I've done this video. Because this is a very passionate and personal thing for me. This video is a response to Luke Morse 1's question about retro gaming and when are games meant to be played and when are they meant to be displayed. Okay, Luke, and gaming community at large. We need to have this discussion again, and I didn't really want to have to be involved in it, but unfortunately it's happened. So, here goes. Reality check time, kids. We are all gamers. I have been one since the NES days, okay? When I played Super Mario Brothers, and I played Zelda, and I played Metroid, and I played The Guardian Legend, and I played Dragon's Warrior, or Dragon's Quest, whichever way you want to look at it. And I played a Steinax, and I played all these games. I played the Final Fantasy, and I played Robotrex, and I played, Saturday Night Slam Masters, and I played... You see where I'm going with this? I played a whole slew of different games. But did you notice the word one word I kept using in there? The term was played. Okay? That's going to be key through this whole thing. When you look at video gaming as it was, we're going to say pre-Funko Land. Okay? Everybody bought games to play them, or they traded them with their friends to play their games, and then they eventually get them back, but they traded games with friends, and we enjoyed them. Okay, that's cool. And we weren't worrying about monetary value, or whether a game was complete, or any of this stuff. Any of the stuff that shouldn't really matter today didn't matter back then. See? Okay? But we bought games because we meant to play. We were going to play them, and because our parents would kick our ass if we never did play the game. They'd say, "Why did you pay $50 for a game that you're not playing? I'm playing, little Jimmy." Because, see, we knew that we were gaming. We were trying to play the games when we were kids. We were trying to enjoy it. And we also enjoyed the social interaction with our friends, as opposed to, the Wii, the Xbox Live, and the PSN, where now if we want to play with our friends, most of our friends, since we can't play with them in the same room, we play with them over Xbox Live, but we don't actually get the experience of playing with, say, I'll give you an example, say, Derek Ward or a Luke Morse 1 or something in the same room. It's sad, but it's true. It's just the way it works. Now, I look at gaming, and I've always looked at gaming the same way I looked at it. God, let's see, I'm 31 now, so 25, 26 years ago. No game is meant to be displayed. Every game is meant to be played. Even those precious collector's editions, I've destroyed every one of them. By destroyed, I mean I've opened every one of them, emptied out the contents, and I play the games. Because I'm of the mentality that you should be a gamer first, and in a very distant second be a collector. And I think people nowadays get the very wrong impression about gaming what it should be. See, YouTube has done a lot of good for gaming, but it's also done a lot of bad. There's a lot of good because it shows people games that they may not be able to play, and it also shows people, and allows people to discuss those games. But it's also a bad thing because sometimes when people do see people standing in front of a big wall of games or a big glass case or something of that nature, they go, I wish I had that. And then it turns into envy. And envy's that green-eyed monster nobody wants to deal with or even talk about. Right? So, when we look at gaming once FuncoLand started to come in, right? To get back that timeline real quick, people were able to trade their games in and buy other games. The catch was when FuncoLand was around, and even GameStop still to this day is still not nearly as bad. They may have, you may trade the game in and they may give you a little bit of money, but you can use that money towards buying another game, and usually those games, which may be used, are pretty cheap. And the thing was, back then, you didn't really worry about, okay, this doesn't have its instruction manual, it doesn't have its case, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have da-da-da-da. Aside from the fact that half the time those stores, if you remember, didn't keep them anyway. Even if you came in with the dust cover, the game tray, the box, the manual, they threw all those out usually. If I remember correctly. It's been a while. But FuncoLand had it right, whereas now when you look at the gaming community as far as with YouTube, it's completely flipped. They still sold the games reasonably. 95% of the people on YouTube worry about the value of the game and whether or not that game is going to become a rare game or if it's going to be a common game. Everyone does this. Well, let's put it this way. Everyone that has a, quote, big collection. And it's kind of a bothersome and worrisome trait. You see, if you're going to sit in front of said collection, you should want to play games in said collection. I have never actually sat and bought a game just because of the cover art. Although some games are so shit that I might as well just kept them for the cover art. Perfect example, this piece of shit. This is the last battle for Super Famicom. Played it for like 5 minutes and went, what the fuck, when I figured out the way the battle system works in that game. Or lack of a battle system as far as I'm concerned, but anyways. But, you know, I bought this game. I love the cover art. And if you're an anime fan and you have not bought this game and you... Oops, upside down, motherfucker. And you have not bought this game, you know... I know there's people that are strict about imports, but come on. If you're an anime style fan and you... This cover art doesn't make you just want to buy the game as a display piece, you're fucking with yourself at that point. What's actually interesting is how, like, pristine the... I mean, I'm not big on, like, you know, condition of boxes, but this box had never been, like, touched. By the way, it came opened, but it was only because of the store I bought it from and had to test it first to make sure it worked. But, you know, you got a game like this, or, of course, Zelda, or Thomas Smith's favorite, Mother 2. And yes, Thomas, this is how bland the game was back in the day, if you remember. The box art. Man, funny how we got the flashier one. Whereas with Zelda, it's actually flipped. Japan got the flashier box art, but a blander title screen. We got a flashier title screen, but blander box art. Make sense? I didn't think so either. The point of all this, however, is the gaming community has become ass backwards. Instead of, you know, buying games to enjoy them. Sometimes we have bought games for display pieces. And we should never do that, because then we lose sight of the way gaming should be and the way versus the way we perceive it and the way it currently is. I have never and will never buy a game just to say I own it. I intend to play every game that I own. And if at some point fall out of love with the game, then it goes to GameStop to be traded in. Unless it's like a really retro game, then obviously I can't. But I've never worried about the value of a game. And I think we've done that to the point where the joy of collecting, the joy of playing our games has been pushed on the back burner versus the joy of collecting a game. Well, let me ask this question, and it's a scenario that me and Derek Ward have spoken about a couple of times. Let's say, just as a hypothetical, and I usually don't deal in hypotheticals, but let's say that tomorrow morning you wake up and your entire collection is gone because it got burned in a house fire, or if you live in Japan, the tsunami came in and washed it all away or something, or the earth just came right under it and just swallowed it up whole and you lost it all. Well, then what? All that time, all that energy, all that money that you're so hung up on just went out the window. But then what? What do you do? Does that make you wake up and realize that you need to have focused on the game as versus the value? Or are you one of those people that becomes completely oblivious to the fact that games should be fun, not monetary pieces? Because here's the other thing, Mr. Luke Morris and the rest of the gaming community, that you tend to forget. As I mentioned earlier, these are video games. They are nothing more than a cartridge on a ROM chip. Or, if you're playing a disc, they're nothing more than an ISO file put on basically a CD. And you're charging a hell of a lot more for those games in some cases than the developer did when the game first came out. You're trying to make literally a profit off somebody else's work. Now, how fair is that to them? That's something nobody thinks about. Oh, don't get me wrong. Some games were basically may have been meant to be display pieces or art pieces, but they're also still meant to be played. It's something that everyone in the gaming community needs to think about, long and hard. Because we're going to hit that day, mark my words, when every game that you have currently physically is going to be a digital game. And then what happens to the value of your game? This. Then what? Then you have to look in the mirror and go, well, I might as well play that game that was supposed to be $400 someday. I might as well play this game I had no intention really on playing, just using it for a display piece. That's the way we need to look at the gaming community now. Not how it is now. How is it going to be 10 years from now when the way games are distributed isn't through a physical store, it's through what we're using now, what we're using to play our current generation games on. You see, that's the way you should look at things. Just my opinion. You have a good night, or in your case, Mr. Morris, you have a good morning, or good afternoon rather, and hopefully we'll get to talk in the future. Sayonara.